Hey Shai, good morning. Nice to meet you, man.
Hey,
Uh, First of all, thanks a lot for your time for this interview. Since I spoke to your PR team, I'm gonna just give you some context in order to understand the purpose of this chat. I'm doing a postgraduate here in Brazil in image and sound, and for my last piece of work to fulfill that, I thought about an article speaking through the concept of sound VCM, and with that in mind, I wanna talk about it, particularly VCM, but in a way that things are free, just like jazz and your music. So it's
yeah.
not. I don't want to put any boundaries in our discussion. To start, uh, you have a very interesting career, accomplished sideman, solid solo career. In your first uh, ECM session, uh, you recorded with Theo Blackman,
hmm
and I would like to for you to tell me how was the experience. Speaking about that first session, and what can you say about that mystic towards the ECM sound, the so-called ECM sound?
Right. Yeah, the session was great, man. I was surprised. I was expecting to be more nervous, knowing that I'm going to record
Yeah,
with Manfred. Um, can you hear me well, by the way?
of course, really well.
Okay. Go. But for some reason I came relaxed to the studio. I remember we walked in and uh, we we met each other, and it was like, oh wow, that's the guy, that's the main guy at ECN. It's funny.
Oh, so you're
um,
behind all that records.
what's that? Yeah, he's the dude. That's the guy. And so it was very nice and chill, and Theo's music is very kind of wide and has a lot of time in it, and so um, and Theo is an amazing artist that deals with stuff that is borderline avant-garde sometimes, and so I knew that we were going to be able to explore together. And so when we get into this kind of stuff in the studio and the producer is on board, and not only is on board, is Manfred Eicher, and he has so much to offer, we really connected, and we started looking for the things that are behind the notes, that are the hidden, like what can we find that is not written.
Yeah,
And Manfred was so, he's so experienced and so open, so he would say something like, oh, that's a nice song. Can we take like these 3 bars of the song, and then repeat them forever, and then have Ben Monder and Shai play something on it, and then that will be a track. He would say some stuff like that.
that's
And then
something what you just said about finding what is behind the written music. That's
yeah,
a
yeah,
nice statement.
yeah. What's behind the written music, under the carpet, whatever you want to call it. It's the extra stuff, the potential.
Hmm.
Manfred cares about the humanity in music. He cares about the authenticity in the music, of thing being authentic and real in the spirit of the moment. He doesn't really care about perfection too much, which is great. So if in other words, if you have a mistake, that doesn't mean that the tech is not going to make the album. It's not about Photoshop records. It's not about like editing it
Yeah, things
to.
has to be organic. Yeah,
hmm
it's
Yeah, and like I have nothing against um, editing music. I'm writing music for film score now, so you need to make sure that everything is super precise. And also in film score, you need to make sure that there's a spirit. But
yeah,
the cuts have to be right, and the fade in and fade out needs to be
yeah.
right, and all that kind of stuff. Which Manfred, he cares about it in his own way, but the main idea is for it to be organic and human. Which is part of the reason why the name Human for my record fits so well with the scene.
I was gonna ask you about it, and I also have a question. Maybe we can connect those. In this new record of yours, I see that the music is very fluid. It shows a lot of your sensibility. You worked in a true with Peruvian George Roder, fellow Ofri Neema on the drums, who you had already recorded previously, and Philip Dizek on trumpet. And I
Yeah.
can't think about this record being recorded like in a day, because things sound so in the correct place. Just like you said about you thought about the soundtrack composition, the fade in, the fade out. How long did it take to record this? I was really curious about it because the music sounds so not well shaped, but everything it's in the right position, and it seems like something that took time. You just came and 2 hour session and it's done. You know.
It was a day and a half. One
Oh,
day and a
you're kidding me, man.
half.
Oh,
Yeah. The
that's
says,
really impressive.
yeah. The
It,
second,
it shows a lot of things, both from your side as you have things ready in your head, and both at his position as well, because he took advantage of your time in a very
Manfred.
fast paced. Yes, yes. Like the session, it was fast, like 1 day and a half. So
Yeah. Well,
it
I
shows
knew it's
two
gonna
perspectives, really interesting, but with points of view
be
completely different. Yeah.
different. Yeah, right. So I mean, I knew the session was gonna be short because it's Oh wait, it's on the computer's going crazy. So because that's the third time I collaborate with Manfred. We did Theo's record, and then the Dream Thief, and then now this. And so I knew that working with Manfred, you're not gonna get into like 17 takes of one song. Like, oh, let's try again, again and again and again, and then you take it home and then you listen. It's like, no, like it's everything is like you're in a flow. It's you're in the studio and you're recording and you figure out the set as you go, and so I was ready for it. So I told the guys like, we gotta be ready. We better be ready for this session, and I don't want it to be. I mean, it was challenging, but I don't want it. I don't want it to be challenging. I want the music to be so fluent when we get to the studio, where it's just like, okay, let's just play it. And so it was super important for me to
To have
book
that experience, the environment.
the environment, yeah, but also to book where are you? Okay, to book 8 concerts right before the recording. So we did 4 in New York, and then we did 4, I think, in France, and we rehearsed probably 3 or 4 times max at my house in Brooklyn, and we talked a lot about the music, but the music is insanely difficult on the record, and so like the majority of the work was the preparation before. So like even for me,
So that actually explains why you recorded so fast. Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
yeah, we I've never practiced so much for a record shit like that. That was like especially like 2 songs, the In a Sentimental Mood and then
Oh, that was a really beautiful version of In a Sentimental Mood, by the way, man.
thanks,
I
thanks
was
man.
talking I was talking with a friend that is also a pianist, by the way, and he said, "Oh, I can't picture this being recorded in a day." And I said, "Oh, me
That
too."
was
And
one
then you
one
heard, and then you said, "Oh, 1 day and a half." I said, "Oh no, that's
that song was one take. We didn't do more than one take for this song.
that's
We were just like, let's play it, count it off, boom, and then we were done, and we looked at each other, was like, okay, I
okay."
guess that's it.
I get the credit
I
in,
guess
yeah.
that's it. So yeah, just one take. But the preparation was like so much time. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
both all of us. I mean, but specifically for this song, like Jorge and Philip and myself, like the part that we need to play there is so long. It's basically like a stream of eighth notes for like 7 pages. There's like a lot of stuff going on, and so there's no room for mistakes too much, or like if you make a mistake, then it's a part of the what the take had, and we have some
Yeah, yeah.
mistakes on this take, but we wanted to get to a place where it's no longer impossible and difficult. And when we played, we're like, oh, we just gotta get through the part. It was like, okay, let's play it so much,
It's
so
not supposed to be hard, yeah.
it's
I
not supposed to
think,
sound hard, yeah.
yeah,
Although it's insanely hard, but that's the idea is that.
things should flow, yeah, have a flow, yeah. You feel that a lot during the listening as the tracks go, and I think there's something really sensitive about the order of the track list as well, and
Yeah, that's Manfred. That's
yeah,
Manfred.
that helps you get that like immersive approach. I don't
Yeah.
know, something that for me is really related to ECM. Shai, can you talk about your studies, mainly when you were first in Israel? Because when I listen to some of those records, not only in this record but in another projects of yours, I always feel like it's this celestial vibe, you know. What can you talk about? Is there any influence that you have it's from the traditional Israeli music, or I don't know. I really don't understand much about it, and I think it would be really nice for you to give some perspective
Yeah, for sure,
on that.
definitely. So, Israel is a country of immigrants. So we have people from all over the world, like from South America, and we have Brazilian people, and then we have Argentinian people, and then like Polish and Russian and Arabic. And Arabic is also like, there's like Tunisian and Moroccan, and then Yemenite people, and so all of these people brought music with them, So we all grow up in Israel. I mean, you're in Brazil, right? You're in you're in Sao Paulo.
São Paulo,
Yeah,
Brazil.
right. So, I mean, Brazil, of course, there's a big abundance of music. There's a lot of different kinds, but like you guys have like, the samba and the bossa nova and like, all those things that are like strictly Brazilian. We don't have
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's
We are
kind of
more
the
like,
roots music. Yeah,
yeah, the roots music, right? And then of course it expanded to so many other things, but like the
yeah, yeah.
roots is that, and we in Israel we don't have it. We don't. There's no such thing as Israeli music, Israeli food, Israeli nothing. Like we're so young and we so that it's all taken from somewhere else. Also, like in cuisine, like hummus and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot that come from like this is from Syria, this is from And so we grew up in Israel, like listening to all these kinds of different kinds of music, and so Israeli pop is just so back at the day was so wide, so just like so many different styles, and you have like the microtonal approach from Arabic music, and then the groove from Brazil. Like one of the main composers in Israel, his name is Mati Kaspi. He has just like so much Brazilian music in his blood, and like it's like we grew up listening to bossa nova, through his
Oh,
music.
that's nice.
Yeah. So so that helps bring some sort of like folkloric smell to
Yeah, yeah,
the.
yeah, for our approach, yeah, when you use jazz
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah, and then like the ornaments that I took from like Bulgarian music and like Balkan stuff, all the playing like like all that kind of stuff where you go around the note, like you're actually the melody is just like this note, but there's so much shit happening around it. So you hear it a lot in like Tigran's music, for example, like
Tigran, yeah, yeah, so I was gonna mention, because
yeah, so
just because of that, what you said, that the folklorian things,
yeah, right. So he brings it he brings it from Armenia, and I get it from like Bulgaria and Israel, and my own my grandmother is from she was born in
Bulgarian or Romania.
Romania, and then she went to Bulgaria.
No,
And so, yeah, all that is deeply inside my music. And then, traditional jazz and flamenco and bossa nova and Cuban music and dubstep and whatever,
yeah.
Beethoven, Mozart,
Okay.
everything is in.
Everything is coexisting there.
Yeah.
Uh, you have a record, Shai, with Yuval Cohen, a brother of the bassist Avishai and Annette.
Yeah.
I think you released it in 2010, right? You recorded in 2009. The record is a duo. You play piano and he plays saxophone. And I would like your opinion on that, thinking about the exposure of the sound, because you're playing a duo, so in a way that you would make the sound more exposed, because you're not playing with the rhythm sections, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would like
Yeah.
to ask you, what are the challenges of playing in a more exposure configuration, such as that one in a duo?
Yeah, I see it more as as an opportunity rather than a challenge. Like when you play with a bass player and he gives you or he or she gives you the roots, it's a challenging thing. Like how can you find openness on a given bass note? How can you find openness if you hear triplets in your mind and the drummer is playing a quintuplet or 16 notes? How like there's like a negotiation. Like okay, so
Yeah,
who's taking it? Like, are we going to my world or your world? And the negotiation, the conversation is the beautiful thing about it, right? When you play solo,
the interaction.
yeah, right. And then when you play solo or duo, it's like an open terrain. Like you do whatever the fuck you want. If you wanna reharmonize, change the chord, go ahead. You just got to take care of another guy that is playing and make sure you're not ruining his night. But
Yeah.
if you're quick enough, if your thought process is quick enough, and you say like, oh, okay, well, Yuval is playing an A flat, I can do all these other things that will have an A flat on the top, So I will keep the top with my pinky, like his note, and then I can do whatever I want with the rest of the fingers. And so the freedom and the liberty is insane. It's really a beautiful canvas to explore. And then that starts the process of how intelligently and how sensitive you are doing that. Like, how close do you stay to the form of the song? How close do you stay to the truth of the song, and not just like, oh, I can harmonize and do all these things that nobody
I
cares
can
about.
play a lot of notes in 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then, for example, like in a sentimental mood, I added like 10,000 notes to a song that has like 35,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And so, but I try to find a way to look for the DNA of the song, seeing like what is the important thing, like what is the base of the song. It's like, okay, and then you take this,
What do you
and
want
then
to explore?
yeah, right. And then when you add all these 10,000 notes, they all gravitate towards the bass, towards the harmonic skeleton, the structure, or the melody in some sort of way. It's never just like random stuff. It could be if you're like, okay, let's play some free, and then you're like, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, duo allows you to do just that, and that's great.
Oh. There's something in ECM that I see. If you get any artist, the sound that he found in a record that wasn't released in ECM is completely different. And there's like this process of, at least as a listener, what I see, that the process of finding his sound, and the to explore your vision, like you're a musician, want to try new things and work with a producer or with people that allow you to do that. What is the process of recording a record with a guy or a label that has this mindset and allows you to explore and you're building something together? How you work in terms of uh, like concept? What is the experience like? You can do everything here. The backyard is all yours.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's great, man, because a few things. First of all, like the first and most important thing is the music itself, and then if you have a producer that is super experienced, as Manfred is, and then he's allowing all this exploration and like space and time to happen, then it's wonderful. It's like, first and foremost, it's a fruitful musical and artistic collaboration that puts art in the center, and rather than like, oh, let's sell a lot of records and make you play some stupid ass music that people would like. It's like, it's not about that. It's like, let's try to make art. Maybe it's not, maybe it's gonna come out stupid, but the intention is to make art, which is great, man. It's like, this world is confusing, like, because everyone is like trying to survive. Everyone is trying to kind of be the next whatever, and that many times dictates people's artistic choices. It's like, I want to be successful, so I'll write music that will make me successful. That's how I started my career. And then I was like, fuck that, I don't want to do that. I want to make art the best I can, and lose a lot of people, maybe, if on the way, if it happens. But a few years later, I'm happy to report that, like, well, if you direct yourself to an honest place, you might gain some people as well. And then sometimes I go on stage with my band and we're playing some out shit, man. Like, I'm like digging inside the piano and playing with my elbows, and Philip is like, "Brr," like, we shouting some shit. And then you're like, man, I'm getting paid for this right now. That's insane. That's what happened with my life. It's amazing. It's such a blessing. And so,
And maybe there's something that I didn't say, but it's implicit, right? Maybe you lost that listener, but he wasn't supposed to be the listener.
yeah,
Maybe he wasn't just your public. And I think today more than ever, you have to know that because of the niche, talking about the markets and how people sell this.
yeah.
It's a
Exactly. Exactly. Maybe it wasn't your guy. So like, you look for other people, and then you accept it. I like, consciously said like, all right, let's go left or right, and sacrifice whatever we need to sacrifice. But if you do it with full intention, like man, like you look at people like Ambrose or Tyshawn Sorry, if you know who that is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great
They're
musicians.
playing some out shit, man, and they built a career on it, and it's so admirable to me. I look at these guys and I'm like, wow, they took it even further,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, they're like lighthouses of people who are musicians who are brave to do so
And we
to
have new guys doing it as well. You see that the saxophone player for Sons of Kemet, Shabaka Hutchins, and you see
Abakas.
new guys coming as well, trying these new things.
Yeah, and it's great. And then Emmanuel Wilkins and Joel Ross now are doing their thing in New York, and Micah Thomas, and there's like a bunch of guys who are just like making music that my grandmother would never listen to. And I'm saying it
Yeah,
in the best way because that's the truth. That's what they're doing, and I admire that. And so, um, it's just a very
it's an
liberating.
exercise that to be true to yourself in the music you want to create as well.
That's it. And man, we live in a world of fake news, where we're in the post-facts era,
I
right?
live in Brazil, man. We have a lot of fake news here.
You know what I mean? We live in a shitty world in terms of like truth. Like it's not about that anymore. And the fact that like you guys have your dude over there. We had Trump in the States is a very sad conclusion of like wow. So truth is not
we
like the
got to
main,
this point, and we actually got to this point.
And so I think there's a very strong hunger for truth. I personally, when I hear someone playing his heart or her heart out or speaking the truth, or like you look at a lecture of like a Buddhist monk or someone that doesn't give a shit about the lying, and I could get emotional because I'm like, wow, man, that thing is precious. That thing is a lighthouse of like, do the right thing, be a good person, like follow what you believe to be right. And so in terms of music, there's room for that, like Tyshawn and these guys, and I put like Kendrick Lamar in that category as well.
Yes, yes, yes.
You
Rap
know
is actually responsible for much of the new grounding breaking things we're having in the past few years.
who is? Okay,
Hip hop is really a big
hip hop.
responsible, yeah, for the change you're having in the industry the past few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys speak the truth. Like they say
Yeah,
things
yeah,
unpleasant to hear, but that's their truth. And so it's a very liberating thing to be able to do that. And so I'm bringing this discussion back to ECM. And so you have that like manifested in a producer that is like, I want something to be real, and then you're like, hell yes, let's do that.
yeah. Thank you so much for
And sure, and also the fact that there's this hunger makes ECM have a huge following of I don't know how many people who follow ECM for many many years,
Yeah.
and they got
And are open to listen to different things. Yeah.
exactly. And so in the era of Instagram, where everyone, including myself, sometimes have the attention span of like 3 seconds before you swipe to the next video, if any.
Yeah.
Um, to have your record on ECM tells people like, hey, take a glass of wine, take a break, put the record. It's
Yeah.
gonna be 5 seconds of silence. The first song,
That's a beautiful statement. That 5 seconds of silence.
it's so
That is a
great.
beautiful statement.
It tells you like that's exactly the 5 seconds of attention span that people don't have in Instagram. So they not
Yeah.
only they give you like quiet music, they don't give you any music to tell you like, listen, we put a lot of work into making this here for you, and
Yes.
take it. And so
Absolutely.
a lot of artists do that anyway, but they don't release it on ECM, so like it gets lost. But being on ECM gives you that privilege of taking your time and still being exposed to a large number of people, and for that
Yeah.
I'm really grateful.
Yeah. For sure. Shai, with such a precise record, I would like to ask you about improvisation. How much of this record happened in the moment?
um I don't know in percentage, but one of the things that I learned with my time with Avishai, the Cohen, the bass player
Oh,
that
of course, yeah, yeah.
band, that his music is very set. It's very like premeditated, and
Hmm.
I had to find freedom within a text. where do you find the gaps, the holes where you can bring something new, where today can be different than yesterday? Like where is that place in the music, or how, if there isn't a gap, how can you reharmonize that chord so it's special today? You know, like how
Yeah,
can you bring out that little flavor that it has to do with what I'm feeling today?
yeah. Not to
Um,
play the same thing twice. Yeah.
Not to play something, yeah, like, and people do it in classical music as well. Like, you know, like how does Glenn Gould play Goldberg Variation today and tomorrow? I think, or Rubinstein, or these guys are looking for the freshness of the truth, you know. And so that process was what with Avishai was restricted by very small gaps because the music is so premeditated, expanded immensely with my music that is like it's a chord, it's a D minor, I guess. That's what I tell my band members as well.
I
I
guess.
I guess it's a D minor, but you know, if you hear an E flat minor, do it, you know, and then everyone is very responsible and doing it and taking it with a lot of care. And so the in terms of improvisation, we just go in and out all the time. So there will be like a melody that A B A, right? And then between the first and second A, we decided to put 7 bars of 14 beats. Why? Because that's what I felt. You know, I would do this to the guys
Because
when I
I
did
can.
exactly. I would do that to the guys like, hey, let's repeat something on, or just like hint right before that we're not gonna continue, and then how do you call it? Like, is this improvisation? I guess it is, but the music is alive, so I can't separate improvisation and material anymore, except for like songs like in a sentimental mood where it's like
Yeah,
really, but the rest is super. Even Gigi, which is the second most complex song on the record, is it has a lot of freedom of how we phrase it. The end, the coda is wasn't planned that way. Philip just played the last note, the first note of the melody,
yeah,
and I was, oh cool, let's go there, and then we just finish it. You know.
yeah. So I think that that's a cool state because it shows the like both things are walking like as equals. You know, your partner is a doing the compositions and your study, which eventually will evolve the improvisation part. Of course, you play jazz, so it's like implicit as well. But it's a nice perspective.
Absolutely.
I was hoping for a different answer. Just like the time you when I asked you about how much time did it take to record the record. I'm still processing. You said 1.5 day, but 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 okay. Shai, there's a piece of interview of yours that you mentioned something about the importance of air in ECM music. And much of the exercise I'm conducting here, speaking with musicians, just for you to know, I spoke with Dave Liebman. I'm speaking with you now. I'm going to talk to Aaron Parks. There's also Hamilton Jolanda, a bandolinist from Brazil. He has a record with ECM as well. I spoke to him once, then we're going to talk again. And for me, the mystique of the whole thing is not just what you described it so well about the air of the sound, but there's also the relation with time and space and the deepness of the note, which are some things that I really listen that you're trying not to do, but you're considering that fact, you know, in order
Mhm.
to tell the history, continuing the legacy of the label and etc. But what can you say about the importance of this conscious, you know, of the thing you said, the air, the silence? How would you describe working these things when recording for a scene?
Yeah. The first word that comes to mind is trust. And so when you meet a new person and the first thing you do is start shouting at him, communication closes, you know. But if you take the time and say hello, how are you, and then listen, and then that space of listening is a space available for the person in front of you to say something and engage in communication, you start touching true, yeah, true communication. I don't know how else to put it. It's just that. And so the value of air is that space, you know, is a space for the notes to be played and not rejected. And again, like we're living in a world where everything is like plowed into your brain with as much compression and as many notes as much violence and sex and colors and dopamine hits as possible to keep you connected and advertise shit for you so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can.
No, I asked you that because there's something that I feel a lot when I listen to your records. It's like you let it's simple, but it's something that I don't see much. And I of course I see that a lot on ECM recordings, but it's like the opportunity for the note to resonate until it's ended, you know?
That's it, man. I mean,
And
I don't know if you can hear it, but
yeah, yeah.
just listen to how much shit is still going on.
And you have the sounds in the background there, yeah. The birds and
Dogs, and there's so much happening, and I just played one note. It's like bing, and then it just like doing this very, very slowly. But all this journey from here to here when it dies is full of beauty. You know, there's like
and
so
it's
much.
still happening, yeah. And we don't get to
You
listen
don't,
to that, from
yeah,
the
you don't have
first
to.
when you plug the amp. I always say that to a friend. It's very rare to listen to people plugging the amp. The music starts, everything is sharp, the piano, it's okay, it's prepared, but we don't get to hear the note until the end. And it's something simple, but it's a comfort that I have when I listen to some of these CM things. It's a,
Yeah,
it's what
exactly.
it's what you said, the respect. Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that that's the only way to create music. Don't get me wrong. I'm not building like an ambient career where everything is like ton of reverb and I just play a long note. Like there's room for intensity. There's room for But I feel that if this is the default and that's where you start communicating with, is me shouting at you as hard as I can so you hear, which is how fucking Trump became president, which drives me crazy. Um, is then you become numb. That's what happened to me. It's talking about Trump. You just like, whoa, so much information. I'm just gonna stare into space and not be a part of it because I can't take it. I don't know what to do with more lies and more
Yeah.
shit, more violence. And so you become
Or
you become
living something very close to what you live there. But here, I think it's worse because Brazil doesn't have the same cash. So
Yeah,
things here
I know.
are a little bit worse. But I can feel your.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible.
But it's a nice statement. Shy. There's also one thing that I think your collaboration with Manfred evokes a lot is that the way we were talking about the organic sound experience, and it's like you play the piano, that's what you choose to do with your life. But ECM has something that taught me a lot how to listen to music because things are like quiet.
Mm-hmm.
There's the thing of the silence that I actually started listening to some classical music because of ECM, and that approach of making music sound not quiet, but you won't never find a record like, I don't know, Dark Magoose from Miles Davis in ECM. The horns like really loud, but at the same time, like Miles was trying to use the space and occupy the space in this record that I quoted. But Manfred did some things with maybe the same objective, but doing completely different things. And one of the things that I value the most is what you just said. The tone. To set the tone for a quiet environment, and how that actually helps you create something immersive. Like the guy listens from even from your record, the first track. It starts with the notes like slowly, and how that is crafting. I think it evokes a lot of how to build the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
What can you talk about thinking of jazz as this instrumental language, and you don't have to say a word, and people still can connect to that?
Yeah, it's the art of playing one note that connects you. Like if you hear Coltrane playing one note, we playing Naim or something. But even before he plays the song, it's just like the way he touches his instrument, the truth. Like we're getting so much information from one note. When a person says hello in the street, you get so much information from that thing. The trust. Like, does he look in the eye? Like, how is he yelling? Is he whispering? Is he does he leave space after that? Like what's is his tone clear? Is the diction clear? Like you get so much information. So with the music, it's the same thing. And so when you present again less material, there's time for the listener to find himself within that story, you know. And that's the thing. Sometimes I would start shows with just like one note, and to me it means one thing, but it means so many things to everyone in the room. Some people are like, wow, I have something to, like a meditation bell to hold on and breathe. Some people will be like, oh, that's making me uncomfortable. Some people will be like, but everyone has a different thing with it. And so I support the less as a starting point, you know. I feel it's an entry point to a more authentic communication.
Yeah. No, no, I asked you this because I don't know, when you play live, it's a completely different experience, but you are always practicing what you said in the beginning, the dialogue, the interaction, and I think that's what makes the beauty of it, yeah. But it's really interesting how you get to the studio to record things and you think really different, because in a gig I think you think like more as an improviser, but in the studio you're like more the composer, and
But again, so like the thing with the guys was to get to a place that we know the material so well, and we really, I mean, I worked as a composer. I worked really hard on everything being very to the point and not having any wasted notes and stuff that's like, I try to find like gold nuggets when when you're in the river
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
find like a little piece of gold and you're like, oh shit. So that feeling should be, I try to make it the entire song to feel like, oh shit, it's like a bunch of little treasures, So I spent a lot of time on that, and then spending a lot of time with the guys explaining them and playing and exploring together until we all feel this efficient nugget that we collectively found. And then once you know that, then you can let go and make it breathe. And so you get something that is, on one hand, is very to the point, very very efficient, very distilled, very clear. And then on the other hand, it's loose. And so that's true in gigs. You would take much more liberty, but there again, the road I made with Avishai and now what I'm doing here is like how to find the freedom within a written text. And so you hold both ends, the freedom, the time, the space, the air, the intention, and then like something that is strong, like a strong DNA of a song that has to be there.
yeah. That's nice.
Just a little thing I need to leave in like 5 minutes. I hope it's okay.
No, no, no. It's actually the last question, man.
Yeah.
To finish, thanks a lot, man, for your time. I really appreciate your work. I hope you're here next year in a Sesc Jazz Festival. It's a
Oh
big thing
man, I
here.
love it. Yeah, we played at Sex Pompea. That was so
Yeah,
nice.
Sesc Pompeii. You don't know how much I miss that place, man. And you have you have played with a lot of fellow Israeli musicians, and I actually wanted for you to name a few of them because
What?
to name a few of your fellow musicians from Israel, because I know Avishai, the trumpet player, the bass player, and then there's Annette, there's Yuval, but I know there are much more, and I think they are getting noticed, yeah, and the music is different, and I wanted you to talk about specifically about the musicians you know from Israel.
Great, I love this question. All right, so let me start with a few piano players. One is Eden Ladin, is amazing, and then we have you have Gadi Lehavi. You know what? I'll write it in the chat so you
Oh,
see.
okay, okay. I'll check
So you
with
get
you.
to, so you have Eden
I'll check
Ladin,
it.
and then you have Gadi Lehavi and Nitai Hershkovitz, which is great. And then one of my favorite musicians in the world is Jonathan Avishai, that plays with and Katya Tubul is great. Tubul, I guess that's how you write her name. And then you have, of course, the Coens, but then Daniel, what's his name? Daniel Cohen, I think. Oh yeah, Eli Perlman is amazing. Jonathan Levy, bass player. Ofer Gano, he's my favorite too. Amos Hoffman. Yeah, check out all these guys. They have like really interesting.
Yeah. No, just I think it's not to give a big picture other than, you know, you and the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
they're great musicians as well, but anyhow, I actually saw the trumpet player live. It was a really nice gig. But thanks a lot, Shaya. This would be really, really, really helpful. When I get the article done, I can translate it to you because I'm gonna publish in Portuguese, obviously, and then I can send you the translated text so you can read it.
Sounds great,
Okay.
man. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. It's great talking to you. What do you play?
I
You
play
piano?
the bass. I'm a journalist, but I play the bass
Okay.
sometimes as a side job.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Have a great day in this room.
Obrigado.
Bye bye.
Talk to you. Take care. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.